My brothers and sisters, welcome back to Restless. It is Father Joseph Gill coming to you live out of Stamford, Connecticut, along with Paul, Matt, and Angelica. And today we're talking about art. Not like music, but art. Because that's a different thing. What? That wasn't a joke.
Musicians could be artists. Are you talking about visual art then?
Visual.
Okay. Music
The
could be an art.
sarcasm.
Ha ha. Anyway,
Look, that's more Haas than I usually get out of Paul. So
I laugh occasionally at your jokes.
occasionally. You may laugh more at my face, but moving on. Anyway.
Angelica was like, oh my God.
Art is everywhere. It's even on Matt's shirt right now. Sort of.
Yes.
He actually has a photograph from The Office.
Yes.
It's Michael and Dwight.
Michael and Dwight.
Yeah, standing in front of a truck outdoors.
I
with
actually don't
trench
know what
coats on.
scene this is from. It
They're
was just,
investigating something. I can't remember what it is though.
it was on sale at Old Navy.
There you go.
So Renee really likes The Office.
Does she?
To all the listeners
That's
that
Matt's
don't know.
fiance.
Yes, that is my fiance.
Fiancé with the accent mark.
You all probably know. I've said it like 1,000 times.
Yeah, pretty much. We can't wait to meet her.
You've met her?
I mean, on the air.
Oh, okay.
You know?
One day
Right.
in the distant and or near future.
I hope so. I hope
Yes.
so. Because she's cool.
I
So,
agree.
yeah, I hope so.
So we're talking about art.
So we're talking about art, yeah.
Right. Visual art.
Visual art, right.
Okay,
So like
yeah.
As
paintings and
opposed to musical
statues
art.
and things. Yeah,
Sorry.
so things. 'Cause we already had an episode on music and it was great. And you weren't there, Matt, but it's okay. Actually, no, you were
I
on that
was
one.
there.
I take that back.
Actually, do you remember? First of all, that was my first episode.
That was your first episode.
Do you remember what I did on that episode?
Did you sing?
We played two truths and a lie,
Oh, that's right.
and I accidentally told 3 truths. It was very embarrassing. And recently at the Veritas dinner, it was brought up with a person that I was meeting for the first time, and she knew about it already. She was like, I know who you are. You're the kid who screwed up 2 truths and a lie.
You're the kid who can't lie. What is this, like the Jim Carrey movie?
It was so funny. I was like, I cannot believe that you know who I am, and that's why. This is one of the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to me.
He's a legend. He's a legend. And
I completely forgot. Was I on that episode?
when you go,
Lauren was on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you go to Madagascar, because we have like 2 people that listen to us in Madagascar,
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're the man."
Whoa.
What kind of
Coming out strong with an
What
accent.
was the accent on that one?
I'm not sure. I think that's Madagascar.
Oh, really? Yeah. I actually never met anyone from Madagascar.
Me neither.
Art, everybody.
Yeah,
Art.
Let's talk about art. Visual art.
Visual art.
No, I
anyway.
meant the podcast was art. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is art. This is
We're
definitely
trying.
art.
We're trying. All right. I'm sorry for wasting 3 minutes of your life that you'll never get back. So, have you ever seen a work of art that just led you deeper into God, or just really impressed you, or something that strikes you in a positive way?
Yes, I have.
Tell me what it was.
Okay, so I would say the first time it ever happened to me, this is very cliche, very standard, everyone's going to roll their eyes, but it's fine. The first time I ever did that was actually at the Sistine Chapel.
You're right. I'm rolling my eyes.
Right. Great. You did.
I did actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first time I was really taken aback by a piece of art. And then it happened again too. So I was at the Louvre in Paris, and everyone crowds around the Mona Lisa. It's a tiny little painting that you can't get close to, and it's not particularly exciting because there's just disaster of a situation in the Louvre. But if you walk down the hallway, the hallway of Renaissance art, which is right next to that, you come by like all the masters that are. You can get right up close to them, and everyone just like runs by it because they just saw the Mona Lisa, and now they can leave and like go home. But you pass by like Titian, and you pass by a painting by Leonardo da Vinci called I think it's I forget what it's called, but it's a Madonna and Child with Saint Anne essentially. And I saw this painting, and in real life, I had seen it in probably a book or something, but in real life, and really up close to it, you can get very close to this painting. And I was just overwhelmed. It was an overwhelming just to see. You could see each brush stroke. You could see everything, and the way he painted it, the way the shadowing is. It's just it's so incredible. And that was like, I just stood there for a minute. My friend's like, "Can we go?" And I didn't. I just stayed there for a while and took a picture.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 times that I've been overwhelmed by art, but both in real life.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely different when you see it on a computer or something. It just doesn't have the same oomph.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe with Metaverse, we'll have some, oomph with anyway.
I like the consistency with which we talk about profound things and also throw shade at things.
Right.
We really do.
Yes,
Good.
We are a sassy bunch. Yeah.
So, Angelica, tell me about some art that you've seen that has struck you.
I think the most recent time that I've been, I was kind of like, it was a bittersweet thing because I saw it and I passed by it and I was told about it by the artist. And I disregarded it because I was busy. And then when I saw it later on in the day, because it's in my room, I was like, whoa, like, what does this mean? And so the artist is my 3-year-old little brother. He was like, what should I draw? And he was like, haunted house. And I'm like, no, not a haunted house. Because for some reason, that's what he wanted to draw. I don't know what that means. But, and then I'm like, draw a person. Because he's like, a ghost? And I'm like, no, a person. Draw yourself. And he's like, what? And so he drew a person. And he told me about it. And he was telling me the colors. And I was doing things in the other end, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm being a good sister because we're hanging out kind of, but like I also need to do things that I need to do, right? Whatever. And later on in the day, I noticed this blue head, blue circle, and then these eyes, and then a nose, and I realized like this little guy is getting big. Because he drew a face, and that was the first time that I actually ever saw that he drew something similar to a human. And it was like, it's like, what does this mean? Like, this little guy's growing, and he's got a brain in his head, and he's learning. And I think just all of that while I was like alone in my room after kind of being distracted and finally seeing it, it was that's what overwhelmed me. And I was just like, wow, like this is a beautiful little scribble kind of looking thing, but it's beautiful because of what who did it, who made it, and kind of what it means. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mine was also from the Sistine Chapel. So I was not making fun of the Sistine Chapel per se.
Oh, good. Okay.
Just the fact that it is trite. But mine was not the ceiling. The ceiling is wonderful. And the second time I went to Sistine Chapel, having a lot more theological knowledge, it was a lot richer. The first time I went, I was 14 years old. But what struck me was the Last Judgment.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's crazy.
On the side. And
with the empty
skin of Bartholomew.
Yeah.
And but really, like, looking at the faces of the damned, because I grew up in a church where hell was never talked about. It wasn't, it was just kind of like nicey Catholicism. And now it was like, oh my gosh, there's something eternal here. Like there's going to be a final judgment, and I'm going to end up in one of these two places, either heaven or hell. And it struck me so much, like, oh, wow, this is real. This whole faith thing is real. And it was communicated just through a painting.
That's incredible.
That was one I'll never forget. Yeah.
That's incredible.
What about you, Matt?
I don't pay much attention to... so I don't pay much attention to, like...
Art.
High art. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not in my daily, weekly, monthly life.
Wait, would you go to an art gallery?
Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure now that I've, matured a bit.
Donald Trump? That was the Donald Trump
that
impression.
was just me making fun of myself.
Okay.
I guess Donald Trump can be involved if you'd like.
Yes, please.
But I think that as a kid, like I went to a couple art galleries, you know what I mean, as a kid, and just like, right over the head. But now I'm sure I would appreciate it more. I'm a sucker for illustration, which is not, and it's not like to diss illustration, but it's not equivalent to Da Vinci.
No, but it takes a different kind of talent,
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm here. This right here is a illustration of
now
Our Lady.
He's now showing us his
Our Lady
iPad.
Star of the Sea, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, it went black.
Yeah.
There it is.
iPads, yeah.
Right, and so I don't know. It's things like this. Maybe it's because I like pop music. You know what I mean? So it's like this is like the pop music equivalent of
Pop art.
Pop
yeah,
art,
yeah.
yeah.
Actually, that's just,
There's a thing,
there's
pop
the
art,
name of
sure.
it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I really, it's specifically the illustrator. His real name is Chris, but he goes by Beartooth Catholic. Beartooth Catholic. He's got an Instagram, but he sells like prints. He sells stickers. I have that Our Lady Star of the Sea sticker on my Hydro Flask
Nice.
because
you have a hydro flask.
Because I have a hydro flask.
You called it a hydro flask as opposed to a water bottle.
in my defense, the sticker is blue, the Hydro Flask is blue, and the Hydro Flask was a gift. So
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Blue for Our
but
Lady.
I I
Perfect.
like the this more pop art, I guess.
That's fair.
It's just not the main art form that I, open myself up to
That's cool.
as like a songwriter. It's never been,
Yeah.
And even in the context of music, it was like, okay, cover art. Let's make some cover art. And I never went like painting,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
The other,
Yeah, go on.
I said the other one that came to mind is along after you go through the Sistine Chapel, or maybe before. There's a bunch of other rooms, so it's not people think
Massive museum.
it's not just
Huge.
the Sistine Chapel and you leave. It's like there's 1,000 different rooms you can go into and some cool stuff and some really amazing paintings. And one of which I actually had on my ordination card was of you could see the crucifix on a pillar in this empty room, and at the foot of the pillar was a shattered pagan idol.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I was so moved by that because I thought, like, what? That's the triumph of Christianity over paganism, and that was on my ordination card.
There's also the Raphael's Transfiguration, which is in there, which is incredible. It's in the Vatican Museum. And then you have the Raphael rooms.
Yeah.
They're incredible. It's just all
Well,
incredible.
I mean, the whole city of Rome. I mean, like, if you can find like Caravaggios in like obscure little tiny church chapels.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
But so if obviously these things have brought us closer to God, closer to your brother, closer to God on your iPad with Our Lady's cartoon. But have you ever seen a work of art that like disturbed you?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I believe it could also be used as a tool for the evil one.
Yeah. My Spanish teacher in high school had a Dali book, a whole book of Dali. He painted a lot. And lots of his stuff is just it's crazy surrealism, and it's absurd and it's scary.
Yeah, he's a good painter though.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I mean, a lot of really famous paintings, modern kind of semi-modern paintings are his that you might see, like the Persistence of Time, the Melting Clocks.
Yeah.
Persistence of Memory. Sorry.
Some of his great, he did a great one on the crucifixion too. Crucifix and Last Supper, famous one.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, he has some disturbing stuff. There's some great ones in I forget the artist right now, but there's one of Saturn devouring her children. It's a classic one because a lot of these Greek myths were pretty disgusting and disturbing, and so when people paint them, you're like, "Oof." What about you, Angelica?
What was the question?
Have you ever seen art that that disturbs you?
Disturbing art, yeah.
Probably. I think a lot isn't like if I watch a scary movie. I mean, it's moving, but it's still art, right? Just things that are made up. I think that when it points to something that is out of order, and the Lord's not up at the top, then I think something in me just is like, okay, something's off, and how about no?
How about no?
Because art like provokes thoughts. You start thinking about things. What does this mean? Whether you think about it or not. Like I'm thinking about what does this mean?
Sure.
In the
something.
art, and I'm sorry, in the color in the art, just like talking about the colors in there, and they mean something. They're put there for a reason by the artist, and they do a good job at without telling you, they communicate something to you just visually. And I think a lot of good artists, they communicate truths and they make you wonder and be there in awe. And artists that are still really, I guess, good at what they do, but wants to sell you a lie, they do a good job, and you feel that in your heart.
So I think about sometimes, because Catholicism stands out as a Christian denomination that embraces art. And again, Augustine, as we spoke about in a prior episode, Augustine has this whole concept that this is hopefully not going to be as roundabout as I think it's going to be. He's got this concept that Written words are signs of spoken words, and those spoken words are signs of mental words, and those mental words are signs of realities. Right? And I think that, just kind of in my own pondering, actually, he probably said it, and I'm stealing it, but I think it might have come from me. Whatever. Hopefully it came
you
from
and he are
Augustine.
somewhere on the same
Hopefully it came from Augustine, because then it's actually sound. But I've looked at that and been like, this is why Catholics embrace art, because if a written word is just a sign, then there's no difference between a written word and an actual like crucifix that we're looking at. You know what I mean? It's just a different way of sending the message.
Yeah.
And that's why art's so powerful. Like, you can't make the argument that art's not powerful. Anybody that's like, art doesn't affect me as a holistic thing, it's like, you're lying. There's no, like, if you, like, in any form, that's like a crazy thought. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why the communists incorporated their specific form of architecture, which was very soul-sucking. If you look at communist apartment block, it's just big giant squares and rectangles, and there's nothing beautiful about it because it wanted to communicate a lack of transcendence. It wanted to say human beings are just functional. It's just utilitarian. Like, it's not about anything.
Right.
We don't need beauty.
Yeah. Well, humans respond to beauty. That's one of the ways that we communicate and that we kind of live as it's a part of our living journey through life. And I think that's one thing that, the Word on Fire Institute and Bishop Barron has been really good at highlighting, and to show the beauty that's around us and the beauty in art. Even like the Word on Fire Bible has paintings throughout it that they talk about, that it's like, this shows a truth. This is a good example of a truth that's discussed in this particular Bible passage or gospel passage or whatever. So, and it brings it alive, and I think it speaks to us in a different way that words may not.
In this JP, I have a book written by JP2 here. It's called God is Beauty. The beginning is a retreat that he gave. It's a series of, it seems like just like journal entries, to be honest with you. And then there's some commentary from Christopher West and other artists, which is a really cool premise. I'm only like 30 pages in. But there were a couple of quotes that I wrote down because I wrote down since recently starting the book. And one of them is, beauty reveals goodness to the human being in a special way. When a person meets up with beauty, that beauty points to some good and causes that good to become attractive to him. Right? And so it's like, beauty has this influential power on our souls, which definitely aligns with what you were saying, right? The Communist Party intentionally revoked beauty, right? Because they understood that concept. I wrote down a lot of quotes. I can't say them all.
I'll share another one.
But another one. So essentially, like he talks about, like, he says that God, the God of the gospel, right, is needed as a source of creative or artistic inspiration. Like, one of the premises JP2 puts together is that you can't create without God.
Well, human beings can't create, period, because
right, okay, yeah. He does make
really
that distinction as well, like small c, big C. Create,
Well, no, but I think that's an important thing with art, is that one of the things that makes art beautiful is its resemblance to reality that God himself created.
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of, when the Cubists, like Picasso, comes around and starts like taking apart human beings visually, you say there's something a little bizarre about that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he had his way of expression that was really interesting. He did one. It's I forget what it is. It was a Dutch painter originally. There's a whole in the Picasso Museum in Barcelona. He did an entire room. It's an entire room, probably like 20 paintings, all on variations on this one painting. And he broke it apart. He put it back together, and you can just he played with colors and everything. And like he was trying to figure out this painting.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a lot of artists, like when you get into their minds and you start looking at their sketches and you start looking at their things, it's like they're dealing with stuff and they're trying to put it together. And I think that's what, like Picasso is trying to do, is that he has this vision and he's trying to put it together, and it's coming out in these art pieces, which like we have struggled to interpret, but there's something deeper there that's just not like,
One of the things in this JP2 book is that he says, he's Saint JP2, sorry. No, but he says that creating artistically has labor pains, because there really is this process. And he goes on to say, like, how many hours do you have to spend at the piano pounding on the keys? You know what I mean? And so he's talking about this laborious process that is art, you know? There were a couple of interesting things in this book. Another one was the temptation to idolize art, particularly if you're the artist. And that's something that I relate to very much less so now, but like prior to reverting to Christianity, I have a very distinct memory where I said to myself, some people have religion, I have music.
Interesting.
This is what I'll worship.
Yeah, that's
like in those words. You know what I mean?
Well, you're saying a profound truth though about music is transcendent, art is transcendent. So you're looking for that transcendence,
right? And so later on, and this is kind of like bringing you through my past, I suppose, because I was doing the artist thing for a while and doing the songwriting thing for a while, and we used to have like a phrase, right, where if you're in a co-write, you would say, "Serve the song," serve the song. Like, what's going to serve this? Don't be self-interested. Serve the song, and like. It blew me away. I mean, literally, like, I started reading it like just a couple days. It might have been yesterday. I can't remember. But he says, like, what is the point of art? Serve the Lord. You know what I mean? And I was like, I had it wrong for so long. And it makes sense to me, like, because I walked away from music to an extent. And I know we're not talking, like, this is personal, so it's music as opposed to, like, visual art, But it was, like, it was a true tumultuous thing within me that I was, like, I would try so hard to write, like, music that points to God. And one of the reasons I walked away from it, because, I mean, I was writing mostly pop music, and I was, like, it's, like, I was, like, trying to, like, secret spy it in there that people would like listen to it and it'd be like wholesome and they'd be like, Jesus exists, But I was like, that's not, like, it's not working. You know what I mean? Like this is not what I'm not successfully doing this. And so it was almost like I walked away because I was like, I'm not serving the Lord with this. You know what I mean? It's good that I think there should be wholesome music, and I'm still putting music out that I think is wholesome, but it's not like the main gig. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know.
This brings up an interesting question. Can somebody who is not morally good produce good art? A lot of people don't know Leonardo da Vinci actually had a rather sordid life. He had a lot of lovers on the side and of a homosexual kind, and I mean, people like Salvador Dali, who had his own demons he dealt with, and of course Picasso, and so all these artists, not all of them, but many artists were tortured individuals and who didn't necessarily live in accordance with Christianity. So how is it that Leonardo da Vinci can then make this great work of art like The Last Supper? I mean, is it authentic? Is it fake? If you're not living it or believing it?
Well, I think I think the Lord can, especially with religious art, let's say, I think the Lord can work through people even if they're not, I mean, we're all sinners, so like the Lord can still work through us even if we're sinners.
Yeah, but I think sinner is different than not believing. I challenged our organist at a former parish that I was at, and because every week he would hire like 4 or 6 or 8 singers at a pretty good price, $150, and that's I guess it was a common thing to do in big churches. And I asked him, like, well, how many of these people believe any of this stuff that they're singing? And he said, oh yeah, no, none of them are Christian. They're just typical young adult atheists in New York City. And I thought to myself, well, so they're just putting on a concert. It's not worship,
right?
And so is that the same thing with people who do visual art? Who are painting the Sistine Chapel? Not Sistine Chapel, but Leonardo da Vinci, who's just painting religious themes because that's what pays the bills, or.
Yeah, but there's still something that has come from that, though, right?
And you can make the argument good came from those singers,
Yeah.
People in the pews worshipped.
Yeah, so the Lord's still working in that particular way. It's a shame that it's not worship for the singers,
right?
And maybe for Leonardo da Vinci, but it doesn't mean that it's not good that's come out of it at the end of the day.
And it's like, it's almost, I mean, certainly the Lord was calling them through it, We're attracted to these kinds of art, whatever it might be. And like you said, they're transcendent, so we should see God in them. If you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Now, of course, maybe you're not. You know what I mean? And it's easy to not pay attention to certain art now, right? Like most movies are trash.
Yeah.
Most movies, I mean, there's like diabolical stuff in movies now for sure. You know what I mean? We've talked about this in the past on this show, so I don't have to get into the different things, you know? But I don't know.
I remember I was at a hostel in Barcelona, I think, and I remember I was talking to one of the guys. He was from somewhere in the United States. Not that I was traveling with, but just another guy I met. And he was saying, like, I'm done with churches. I'm not going in any more churches, because he had been all through Europe. And he's like, I'm done. I don't like churches anymore. It's too many churches. They all look the same. And, of course, me, I'm like, oh, I love going to churches. Like, it's great. Like, I keep going to churches like my whole life. Don't matter, which I probably will do, hopefully. But I thought that was strange. I was like, oh, it's interesting, because there's a respect for the art that comes with the churches, the architecture and the engineering that goes behind that, and plus all the art that's contained in the churches. But it's also what that represents, which brings it to another level. And I guess if you don't appreciate that, then it probably is hard to go into churches and see the same thing over and over again.
And especially in Europe, when I hiked El Camino a few years ago, and I remember in Burgos and Lyon, the two biggest cities we walked through, we went to the cathedral, and there was only one tiny chapel we were allowed to go in without paying 10 euro for the rest of the church. And, it strikes me that these churches, these grand cathedrals, are now nothing more than museums. And that's how the Europeans see them.
That is terrible.
Yeah, it's not
I know
a worship
priests
space.
can get in for free. Could you get in for free as a deacon?
I don't. Can priests get in for free?
Generally, yeah.
Oh, so that'd be good to know. Now I'll go back.
You could try. I mean, you may still say no, but I think priests can generally get in, yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Any thoughts, Angelica?
I have thoughts.
Good.
Thanks
head
for
were
letting
empty.
us talk. Sorry, we didn't.
These guys hog the
Stop.
whole podcast.
I was thinking, like, as you were talking, how right, you have this gift that you can sing. He has a beautiful voice, you guys, and his fiance does too. But
It's true. Look him up, Matt Sparaza Music.
Spotify.
Yeah, it's my Instagram. Don't DM me. I erased Instagram. Okay.
and so you play an instrument.
Yeah, I play piano.
Maybe I thought you played guitar. Okay.
I do play guitar.
Okay. Well, and I was thinking some saint said it, or it was said about the saint. I don't know. It was like through using this gift that the Lord gave them, like that. It's not the talent necessarily that is the gift, but it's the using of the gift of this talent that is the Lord's gift to you and Lord's love to you. And I was just thinking about that. And so, like, when it comes to singing, it's yes, you can be singing in a church with others, and maybe you're the one that's leading, but really it's like by you singing, like, that's the Lord, like, loving you. And it's such an interesting thing to think about when in, like, other areas. So, like, an artist who is painting something, and you're thinking, like, I'm going to give this to this other person, and I'm using my gift for the Lord because it's a good thing, and, like, I'm going to give it to this other person and whatever. But really it's like the Lord is blessing me and giving me the gift of being able to do this, and just, like, leave it right there versus, like, going further. And, like, so I think for the good and bad, it's really, where is your heart? And then not including others. I think just starting there is an important piece.
It's got to be transformative to make a work of art for the Lord, without a doubt. Well, we've run out of time, but thank you for joining us in this episode of Restless. You can find us on Veritas Catholic Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in next time.